The Italian Radio Hour is sponsored by Istituto Mondo Italiano.
Buonasera, good evening, and welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. Io sono Stefano.
E io sono Viviana. Ciao Stefano, come stai stasera?
Non c'è male. E tu come stai?
E dai, tiriamo avanti, dai. Non ci lamentiamo.
Buona. Una domanda per te. As
mamma
you
mia.
recall, the intent of the show is to kind of remind people, introduce people to Italian culture. And today, I believe, is the Festa di San Biagio.
That
Cosa
is
significa?
the Festival di San Biagio, so is the protector of the throat. So right now, you should just clear our throat so that we can have another lovely episode of the Italian Radio Hour.
Fantastic. And also, we want to welcome back our listeners. We want to welcome any new listeners. And we also want to welcome those listeners that are listening online at khbradio.com.
E benvenuti a tutti I nostri ascoltatori in tutto il mondo. So the program will be both in Italian and English and will feature stories of people who love the Italian culture just like you. And at any point, if you want to share your story with us or have an interesting connection to Italy or want to sponsor one of the episodes, you can always email to us at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com and we'll connect with you.
Fantastic. And be sure to like us on Instagram and on Facebook at the Italian Radio Hour. And as we recall in our last episode, we had Bob Vergrasso on. And, he kind of gave us some sage advice. And he talked about, his roots to Italy, his trips back to Italy, talked about his upbringing. And I remember talking to him about, asking him about, did you learn language when you were young? And he said no. And it's going to be a little bit of a segue into our guests later, but we're going to get that shortly. But, he talked about, the different things to kind of feed us, both financially, mentally, and, what did you kind of take away from that conversation?
Well, indeed, it was a lot of wise advice and a lot of that, a lot of information that we can all learn from. There's a lot of experience and only just, 50 years in the market with a very entrepreneurial spirit that started when he was doing the delivery as a paper boy to just good people advice.
And again, that was the things that he picked up, that he, that's that cultural thing he picked up, and it turned him into the man he is. But I think the one thing that people are always most interested in is they say, you tell us this phrase towards the end of the show, and what do you mean? So I think we talked about acqua in bocca.
Okay, so you know that I like to do little experiments on you. So I see that you have a nice cup of water. Steve, can you please fill it? Just drink it all up. Okay, fill your mouth with water.
Okay, I am. For those of you, we are on radio. You cannot see this, but I'm drinking the water.
3. I'm keeping an eye. More. Okay, that's enough. Otherwise, you're gonna explode. Can you talk now? Okay, so just the expression acqua in bocca is something that we tell our friends when we want them to keep a secret, okay? Because obviously, if your mouth is filled with water, you can talk. So that's it.
Well, that was good. And again, we picture the folks that reply back and respond to these. We enjoy reading them. It's funny to see what people, think these things mean. But
Okay, so before we get to our guests who are patiently holding for us, a little bit of pubblicità. Parli italiano? Do you want to learn, improve, or master your Italian? Istituto Mondo Italiano can help. Located in the heart of Regent Square, Mondo Italiano offers small group classes and one-on-one private tutoring to help you learn Italian in no time. Visit us online at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org.
Rizzo's Malabar Inn is an Italian restaurant located in Crabtree, PA. It has been owned and operated by the DeFabo family through 5 generations. Since opening in 1935, Rizzo's has become a renowned local landmark of Westmoreland County. Along with a restaurant, banquet, and wedding venue, they are also a full-service catering business. In addition, Rizzo's Malabar Inn operates a successful line of Italian retail products, including homemade jarred pasta sauce, frozen pastas, and soups such as gnocchi, cavatelli, ravioli, wedding soup, and pasta fagioli. Look for these Rizzo's Malabar Inn products and more in your local grocery store.
Okay, welcome back to our listeners. So, Stefano, you know the roads lead to Pittsburgh, right?
To Pittsburgh? Ma no, to Rome.
Are you sure? Because the 4 lovely guests that we have on hold are all in Pittsburgh, and their roads led to this beautiful city. So let's bring them on And I have for you Alessandro e Filippo. Ciao, buonasera, come state?
Hello.
Ciao.
Hello.
Ciao, bene.
Then we have Jacopo. Ciao Jacopo, come va?
Ciao, tutto bene voi?
Benissimo, grazie. E another Alessandro. Ciao Alessandro, come va?
Ciao, molto bene, ciao, come va?
Okay, so why bringing these young men to the show? Because in the past episodes we really focus on people that have made the journey about 100 years ago, and the new generation might not relate to them. So we thought, they're still newcomers, and I was wondering if history repeats itself, or if there are differences to when people started that journey about 100 years ago and the people that have started 10 years ago, 6 years ago. And I believe so let's actually this is going to be a conversation where you kind of Italian style can talk over each other. Can we just go back with if you can say how old you are, maybe the city you're from, and when you came to Pittsburgh? And let's start with Alessandro and Filippo.
My name is Alessandra Ambaldi. I came to Pittsburgh when I was 5 years old, 9 years ago, and I used to live in Savona.
Okay, and
I am 13 years old.
Okay, and how about your younger brother?
I am 9 years old. I came here when I was 8 months old, and I lived with my brother.
Okay, wonderful. And then we have Jacopo, same information, how old you are, where you're from, and when you arrived in Pittsburgh.
So I'm Jacopo, and we moved to Pittsburgh 3 years ago, and my family's from Bologna.
Okay, wonderful. And Alessandro, can I call you Alessandro Senior?
Yeah, I'm Alessandro. I'm from Milano, and I moved to the United States with my family when I was 6 in 2008.
And how old are you now?
I'm 19 now.
Oh, okay. So about 13 years ago. So let's start a little bit with Jacopo, because Jacopo is probably the one that has the newest experience, because when the parents make this important decision to relocate to another country, maybe it is for many different reasons. This case was a great job opportunity. So I wanted to go through, if you don't mind sharing, how was the decision communicated to you? What was the process or the approach that your family took to let you, and you have also another brother, younger brother, know that there was this possibility of coming to the U.S.?
Yeah, let's say that my parents have always been really open with me. And as soon as my dad received the offer, the first thing they did was they let me know. It was a little bit hard to accept at first. I didn't think it was actually real. But then I think I took it really well. And I was really open to coming over here and have sort of a new experience.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So that you were kept in the loop. It was kind of the whole family, a decision that matured in the entire family. The other ones, Alessandro and Filippo were tiny. Alessandro Senior, so to speak, you were 6 as well, but it was 13 years ago. Do you have any recollection of, I don't know, when getting on this long journey, did you have dreams or expectations of what this move was going to be like? Or the first time you actually landed in Pittsburgh, whether it's the house, the streets, any impression?
I remember that my parents were telling us that we were only supposed to stay in Pittsburgh for 2 years, and then we're going to get moving back to Italy for my dad's job. But so I wasn't really expecting anything out of it. And then I remember the first time we came up to the house, I was being very little and only having lived in tiny apartments my whole life. I was very shocked to just see the big difference and the contrast is between the cities. But then as time went on, we kept staying on. Oh, it was an extra 2 years, extra 2 years. So I was eased into it, but so was my family. So it was kind of, it didn't happen all at once.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Now, Alessandro e Filippo, a little bit of your impressions, if you have any recollections, maybe the first friends, il primo amichetto that you made here in the U.S.?
Honestly, the first friends I ever made were probably in preschool when I was learning to talk English and stuff, people who were really open to me. But in general, when I came here, there were many Italian friends that we already knew, so those were mainly my first friends. And then I got to know other people who were already here.
Do you wanna say by chance what school you attend?
I attend Sacred Heart Elementary School.
And we're very happy to say that Sacred Heart does offer Italian as of this year. And this is a great opportunity that the school was open to jump on this change. And for what it's worth, we really hope that other schools are going to follow through, because I was looking at some numbers. There are 300,000 Italians reside in the U.S. registered, with the consulates. So the need is there, and families, if you're listening to it, please talk to your school principals, ask for Italian, because it can be done.
And ovviamente una bella lingua. So I think it's something that you don't have to be Italian to learn the language and appreciate it. But I guess my question for all of you, and you guys can answer this however you want, is you all seemed to move here at a fairly young age, and you learned English. Do you guys remember anything, or probably more for Alessandro Sr., you're probably the one that has the most recollection of school back in Italy. Do you remember going to school at all back in Italy?
Well, I only went to, I guess, what would count as kindergarten. It was the asilo, yeah. But I do actually remember it. I remember, like, not specifics, but like general things. I remember the street that I used to walk on to get to school. Like my grandparents would sometimes take me because my parents had work, things like that. I generally remember that I did have like friends. I mean, now I don't remember who they are, but I remember having them. I remember like things like that.
I was going to ask if you stayed in touch with anybody from when you were a kid. Do you keep in touch with any of the friends?
Occasionally, I have one who's like very good friends with my mom, and they live very close to where we live in Italy. It's where we still have our apartment there. So sometimes we go over, like whenever like we go back and travel over the summer or winter, I go and see them. But that's about it.
I was dying to ask. I don't think any of you are going to be able to answer this, but I would have been dying to know what was the difference between American schools and Italian schools. But it sounds like you were all fairly young, so we can't have that.
And don't look at me like being the one fairly old, because I can't make that comparison for you.
They're very different. They're very different.
So when we were talking about, English, obviously when you came here, maybe you had very little or no English. What were some maybe of the strategies or the things that helped you to gain fluency in English?
Yeah, I can answer that. I remember every day I would dread going to school, and I would always be really happy to get back home. And then whenever I got back home, before like starting any of the homework that we were assigned in first grade, I would always like sit down with my mom, and like she would force me to read like very simple children's books. Mm-hmm. And I found that embarrassing at the time, because like they were like, it was like way below the first grade level. But obviously I didn't know the language, but that really helped me a lot with my English and expanding my vocabulary and things like that, which is why I think I'm a lot better at grammar than a lot of my American friends. And also like watch like shows that were like Dora, for example, like Dora the Explorer. That was in both Spanish and English. So like the fact that they spoke in Spanish made it easier for me to recognize English words and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Actually, let's take this question around. So because of the difference of age and experiences, everyone probably has different strategies or have done something different. Jacopo, let's get back to you. You came to Pittsburgh that you had maybe the scholastic English. What worked best for you?
Yeah, I think I just tried talking to people. I think that was the best strategy I had. It was just trying to express what I was thinking and what I was trying to tell people. Because I had I learned some basics of English when I was in Italy, but it wasn't nearly as much as what I needed to communicate here. Mm-hmm. And just like try and talk to people was like the best thing I did.
And if I remember correctly, you also got involved with culture, with soccer, that allowed you to make more friends and again being exposed to the language more frequently and making your friendships. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the most important thing. If it wasn't for the school soccer team, I would have not probably had so many friends now, or probably would have been so much harder if I didn't make that team.
Alessandro Filippo. So I wish Mom were on the phone just to ask which word did Filippo say first, mama or mom? But so Filippo switches from Italian to English, like it's so funny. Alessandro Rambaldi, strategies, or what do you think worked best for you?
Honestly, like the other Alessandro, come home, start reading like words, like simple words that I could learn. But also like Jacopo, I would try to talk to others because that's the best way, trying to communicate and learn from others. Also, entering sports was like very good because I could meet other people outside of school and like they would help me also understand and like learn new words that I have never known before.
Indeed. I have to say that since I came to Pittsburgh, I mean, we're talking now about a couple of years ago. Well, let's put it 0 at the end of that couple. I'll be honest to share this story with the audience. There were a couple of instances where, the language really, I came on December 17th, so New Year's Eve was approaching, and the friend that was hosting me, she had planned a New Year's Eve party at the Sheraton Hotel, and at some point she got all excited because the Steelers were there, and I had no idea. I thought they were still workers. So eventually these pretty big guys, came, and I got introduced to them and said, "Oh, you are the steel guys." And I thought it was cute. I had no idea who I was talking to. Or some, the first time that I heard the word buck for $1, like $100, give me $100. I'm thinking about the animal, the one that unfortunately people go and hunt. Or my body and I was thinking the word body, B-O-D-Y, instead of B-U-D-D-Y. And of course, it's you and your body. You can't separate from your body. So, and now things have changed completely because technology is playing a huge role. First of all, we have much more access to any language, not just, and that's why I'm always in favor of learning any foreign language. We have students in the classroom. Initially, if they have very little English, they might come with their Google Chrome, with Google Translate, with what they want to say. But one thing that I noticed the other day in the hallway, it was the sweetest. I wish I could have taken a picture, but it would have. I would have invaded the privacy of the moment. We do have a new ESL student in the class. And there was one student from our class, the two of them were indeed in the hallway reading a children's book. And the girl was, the native speaker was going over the images and was waiting for the other friend to read these words again. And they were just like, it was magic. I mean, or sometimes when there is group work in class, it's nice to see that there are certain people that take upon themselves to make sure that whoever is now fluent in English understands what the task is before they get to their own work. So there is a lot of collaboration, and that's fantastic to see, not only from a teaching perspective, just as a human being. Okay, so now I made fun of me with the Steelers story. Do you guys have any funny story that is worth sharing with the audience? We're just looking for something a little embarrassing. Nothing really.
Don't worry. There's thousands of viewers. Don't be nervous.
I wouldn't really say this is funny, I guess, but it's kind of one of the first things that I remember ever happening to me. In, I think, the first week of first grade, I remember that, the teacher was made us tell us stories of what happened to us over the summer. And I obviously didn't know English whatsoever. I only knew how to say yes and no. So I'm there, we all sit in a circle, and then it's my turn. I'm dreading it, right? I'm like, I don't know what to say. things like that. And then it comes to me, and it's like, all right, one thing that happened to me was I got stung by a bee in the middle of my palm. I remember this very clearly because it was very traumatizing for me at the time.
Wow.
While we were at the beach, and it was, I don't know, it was a very vivid memory, and I hated it, and there was nobody at home besides my grandfather, who was asleep at the time. So like I couldn't get help from anybody, so I was just sitting there, like probably crying, with a stinger in my hand, but then translating that to English was the hardest thing in my life, and I kind of, I think not a Pictionary, but like there's a game where you just like act the charades. It was basically did charades and acted out the action of a bee stinging my hand, and I felt like that was very embarrassing for me.
But actually got you the help, I guess.
That's right.
I hope.
Just remember, they weren't laughing at you; they were laughing with you. You know that. You've learned that. You've learned that by now.
Alessandro, you are the only one. You're already in college, and this is a question. Actually, I have two questions for you before I have a little trivia for everyone. The fact of being bilingual, being exposed to two different cultures, how is that influenced or impacted your choice of studies now at university? And if you don't mind sharing what you're studying.
I'm studying international relations and economics at Northeastern University, and it's being Italian is like really, and I guess American, having like a dual citizenship and then the multinational view of just like things throughout the world is like very much so like opened up like my perceptions about how I view things, and so that's kind of why I decided to go along the route of international relations, because I just find that whole field very interesting. And alongside that, there's like different like categories. There's like diplomacy, there's like NGO work, there's refugee crisis, and things like that to study. But that's kind of why I chose to take this route.
Yeah. Just one other question, again, because you're the older and the wiser. No, they're all wise, but you're the older here. What is a word of recommendation that you would want to share with the newcomers, people coming here and, again, living the same experience that you have gone through?
Honestly, based on what has happened to me throughout my life, it just don't be, I guess, I know it's very cliche, but just don't be afraid to be who you are. Just let that happen, and then you'll find your way no matter what happens, and you'll find the right people, and your family will always support you. Thanks for that.
Wonderful. Okay, so now let's bring Filippo on the phone. Okay, Filippo, you and I are going to have Stefano. He's going to be our little guinea pig. Are you there, Filippo?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to try to teach him the little number, la filastrocca dei numeri that we did in class. Okay, do you remember the lines by chance?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do it, and let's see how Stefano is going to follow. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Uno, due.
Fa il bue. 3, 4, fa il gatto. 5, 6, tutto ok. 8,
7, 8.
7, 8, asino cotto. 9, 10, pasta e ceci.
All right, I think I've got this.
Okay.
1, 2, fa il bue. 3, 4, fa il gatto. 5, 6, tutto ok. 7, 8, asino cotto. 9, 10, pasta e ceci?
Pasta e ceci, that's exactly what I had. Bravo! Okay, so just 1 minute. Okay, this is for everyone. Your favorite soccer team? Alessandro Rambaldi, favorite soccer team? Do you have one? Manchester United. No, kidding. Oh, maybe it has already hung up. Jacopo, do you have a favorite soccer team?
AS Roma.
Okay. Alessandro Senior?
La squadra migliore al mondo, il Milan.
Oh my God, I think we're not going to be friends. No, kidding. A famous dish that you guys eat at home that you love, love, love?
Gnocchi al pesto.
Gnocchi al pesto. Okay. What else from Jacopo?
Tortellini.
Tortellini. And Alessandro Senior?
Una cosa che ho iniziato a cucinare io sono le zucchine ripiene di carne con la ricetta di mia nonna.
Okay, so meat stuffed zucchini with grandma's recipe. You will have to give it to us so that if you don't mind, we're going to share it with all our listeners. Now, let's see who can follow along. Again, we only have 1 minute. Okay. Let's see if you can, I hope so. Nel bel mezzo nel mezzo del cammin di nostra vita. Does this word, does this sound familiar to anyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have an author to these lines?
Like to continue it?
No, that's okay. You can just give me the author.
Dante.
Dante. Okay, yes. How about this other one? Fratelli d'Italia, l'Italia si è desta, che l'elmo di Scipio si è cinta la testa.
È l'inno.
Oh, okay, yes, okay. They are Italian. Okay, so ragazzi, thank you so very much. We will follow up, and if there are any questions from the audience, you can always send them to us either through the Facebook page or at the Italian Radio Hour @gmail.com. You guys have been fabulous. Thank you so much. Ciao a tutti quanti.
Ciao.
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 Applying for dual citizenship, need documents translated. Istituto Mondo Italiano provides certified translation and interpretation services in 20 different languages. Be sure to visit us at istitutomondoitaliano.org.
Do you have a special event coming up this year? Mom and Dad's wedding anniversary? A family reunion? A wedding or an engagement party? That special birthday celebration? Live accordion music by me, Eduardo, can add that special touch. Quiet music for cocktails and dining, or tangos, polkas, and mazurkas for dancing will say thank you to your guests in a special way. And you'll get the sound of a complete band for the price of an accordion player. My telephone number is 412-687-6416. See and hear me on my website, eduardomusic.com.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. And so we're ready for the second guest. Well, actually, that will be the fifth one, but the second guest segment of this episode. So we have on the line Giulia Petrucci. Buonasera, Giulia, come stai?
Buonasera, sto molto bene. Sono molto felice di essere qui per fare una bella chiacchierata con te, Viviana.
Okay, so what is the connection between what Julia is going to tell us all about and what we have talked about in the first episode? I think if I can summarize it, it's all about maybe the 3 C's, the community, the children, and this is going to be also the element of the church because we're going to talk about a beautiful church. But let's give a little bit of information about Giulia. Giulia Petrucci she's also from the north. She's from a town, Vercurago, in the province of Lecco. That's where the Promessi Sposi took place. Has 2 children, Carola and Marco, and Bill is the husband. Got married in 2003 and 2004. She was already in Pittsburgh, where she very business-minded. She also dedicated a lot of her time and energies to nonprofit work. And actually, you do have also a connection to, we mentioned the Sacred Heart School. You actually created a program, it sounds very awesome. I wish I had been a student at that time, called Meet the Maestro. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, as you said, nonprofit and supporting nonprofit is very important to me. And Sacred Heart was a school where I sent both my school, and I just loved that school. So while the kids were there, I wanted to offer an opportunity for all the children there to experience the symphony. I had the privilege to know in person Maestro Manfred Hanek, and in order to make the symphony more accessible to young children, we partner with the symphony, and the kids had the opportunity to learn through different professional musicians that came to Sacred Heart to learn a little bit about classic music, and then they organize performance for the maestro. We bought a beautiful basket of goodies for him. He was new at that time to town. He had just arrived. And so we performed for the maestro, gave him the goodies. We gave him flowers, the Edelweiss. We were able to find the Edelweiss that he's from Austria, so he really appreciated a whole bouquet of Edelweiss. And then we enjoyed the symphony with him. We brought more than 400 kids. It was spectacular.
It sounds like, and I guess the word accessible is something that it's like a philosophy of what has led you to now to have created, and now we'll dive into the Dragon's Den, this beautiful, beautiful facility that occupies the former St. Mary Magdalene Church in Homestead, has zip lines and obstacle course. What is the idea behind the Dragon's Den? Can you share that with us?
Absolutely. I would love to. Thank you actually for the opportunity to talk about that. Dragon's Den is my third child. I am passionate about Dragon's Den. And the idea started many years ago during our honeymoon. My husband and I, instead of gifts, we wanted to do something for children. So we organized a fundraiser. We raised $20,000, and we brought it to a mission in Patagonia, where we spent our honeymoon among children that came from very challenging background. And living with Padre Corti, who was a father there and was very inspiring, we learned about how small things can make really huge changes. So that was the inspiration. Then life started, our children came, and the passion just to give back stayed, but, with smaller projects, until one day we went to a party organized by our church, and they organized this party in Homestead because a couple of parishioners were moving from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. So there were like a goodbye party. And when we went to that party, we drove in front St. Mary Magdalene that had a for sale sign. And my husband, and I always underline it, that it was my husband, because he always complained about, how much time that project took. So he initiated it.
Okay, thank you, Bill. If you're next to Julia, you can also get the phone so that you can continue the story. No, sorry. Go ahead, Julia.
So when there was the for sale sign, and she said, "Oh, Julia, you wanted to do something for children. Look, this is big enough for you."
Mm-hmm.
And
Il segno della provvidenza, really.
It was a joke. Then we went to the party, and my husband started asking the story of St. Mary Magdalene, and what he was talking about me wanting to do something for children was actually what we all Italians know very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
What I missed when I came to this country for my children was the concept of the oratorio.
Mm-hmm.
So the oratorio, which is nothing new for us, it's a safe space that is next to every church in Italy, and it has an outdoor space and then an indoor space, and you do activities that sometimes are structured. A lot of time they are not structured,
mm-hmm.
but there are always a lot of adults
highly supervised.
Around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I missed.
Go ahead. Sorry, I just wanted to ask you to kind of give a picture. Let us visualize the space because it is really beautiful. So when we walk in, what are we facing?
Okay, when you're walking in St. Mary Magdalene, so when you imagine when right now after a lot of work, what we did in order to save the building and reopen it for the community, we had this idea to build two ropes course. One for younger children, 3 feet above the ground, and that's for children 5 to 9. And the second, the upper course is 17 feet above the ground, and it's for children and adults. And then we have a zip line that connects the choir loft to the former altar, and that's 160 feet long. And the rest, so while we do have a challenge course that is highly customized, it was actually built inside the church by 80 volunteers.
Wow.
So it goes all around the beautiful architecture of St. Mary Magdalene, which is a historic building, recognized historic building. So when you are on the course, you can see the architectural detail really close by, something that is impossible to see in the other churches. And all the other programs that we do for children in Homestead are organized around it. So we have after-school programs for children that comes with all kinds of different backgrounds, and then we have summer camps. We have workshops that we organize for school and youth nonprofits, and we focus a lot on mental health, team building activities, and now reconstructive after, or during the pandemic, and trying to help the children overcome challenges that they have in their life or they experience because of COVID. And so during the week, we have a lot of work between the children from the community and also other school and nonprofits, but we are open to the public Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Julia, una domanda per te. You said something very interesting. This is a historic landmark, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing this. But I'm curious, when you were doing the construction, were there any limitations on what you could do if this was an actual historic landmark, or that really didn't matter?
Oh, yeah. So when my husband and I bought the church, it was not recognized an historic landmark. We actually went after the recognition because after hearing the story and the fact that the community worked for several years to raise a lot, $500,000 was told to save the church, we wanted to make sure that the church would stay forever. So, but doing that, there was a lot of back and forth to discuss the project. But they allowed us to do this project because when you come and see what we have done it in such a way that if we change our mind, we can actually disconnect the ropes course and the church, it's exactly the way it used to be. So we didn't change much besides putting some very strong bolts inside the walls and poles to support everything. But we didn't change the structure, and we work with people that were very understanding that this is the way to keep historic buildings open to community and relevant to our time.
And I'm curious because a lot of those people that were raising money for the church, have they been back in the back in the facility since then and seen it? I mean, have these people come back and looked, even though it's not a church, but have they looked at it?
Absolutely. This is the best part for all of us. We are actually collecting memories of old parishioners that tell us their stories. I can tell you this story. You're going to love it. So we opened in September 2020, the middle of the pandemic. We decided everything was closed. We want to do something for the children. This is absolutely the perfect time to open. And because of the structure of the ropes course, there is an enforced social distancing all the time, because from one challenge to the other, there are way more than 6 feet. So we felt very safe. The space was very big, and we opened with very limited capacity. But I remember that in November, we had a lady, and she called, and the daughter called and saying that the mother wanted to celebrate her 90th birthday at the church, because that was her church. And she wanted to come down the zip line, 160-foot zip line.
Oh, I thought 160 years old.
So I was just open, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm 90 years old down the zip line. But I want the place to be really accessible, as I said. So I talked. We have a waiver. They assured me that she was okay. And I was like, yes, we can do that. So we organized the birthday party. The family came and everything. And then finally, the lady came. And let me tell you, she walked in with a walker. And I was like, what? But she did it. And it was fantastic. She did it, going down the zip line was not a problem. The problem was taking her down from the zip line. That was the challenge. But we did it. And then she sat down and she told me this story that she was baptized there, that she got her first communion, and she got confirmation, and she got married. And at that point, I was like, thank goodness, because the last sacrament, let's not make sure that it happens here.
She's going to get all the sacraments at the church. Well, the good news, you don't need to walk her on the zip line, so that was perfect.
Absolutely. I just imagine her to fly like Spider-Man, Spider-Granny. I just want to let our listeners know, and we're still going to continue with a conversation with Julia, but Julia has graciously agreed to give us 4 tickets to go to the Dragon's Den. So in a minute, we're going to open up the phone line, but you need the magic number. And that magic number is 412-825-6262. One more time, because this is what separates you from tickets to the Dragon's Den. 412-825-6262. Okay? Be one of the lucky winners. So, Julia, in this renovation and excavations, I'm assuming that you maybe found some artifacts?
Well, we found something, but not much, because the church was closed for a decade and was vandalized, and they took everything they could. I mean, there was nothing inside. Even, all the pipes, because they were copper, they were taken out, so there was no electricity, no heating system, no gas line. What there was in the basement, we had 5 feet of water. There was actually a natural spring in the basement, but when the church was closed and they turned off the electricity, the pump stopped working, and so there was all this water that caused an incredible amount of mold. But when I walked in for the first time with my husband, and I just couldn't envision, kids there, and I just loved the idea to reopen a building that belonged to the community and reopen to the community. So I told my husband in Italian, no matter what, we are buying this place. It has an in-ground pool. And he always said, yes, an in-ground pool was that 4 feet of water in the basement. And he said, well, that's talking about somebody that see, the silver lining.
So do you have, are you selling Dragon's Den bottled natural spring water yet?
You know what? That's a good idea, because we are always fundraising. We always try to raise funds for scholarship for the summer camps and to make sure to offer even more programs for our children. So I could actually consider that. But right now we have a pump and it works, so there is no more water.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
That's fantastic.
So you said that the work of volunteers is crucial within the organization. Are there any special volunteers that maybe have been with the project for an extended period of time? I don't want to say they moved up in the volunteers rank, but you know what I mean. Someone that maybe started from the ropes, no pun intended, and now it maybe has more of a place of responsibility, so to speak.
So the role of a volunteer was extremely important. It's still crucial. So, for example, I can tell you, everybody loves the stories, and there are so many stories attached to our project. The design of the rope course was done by an Italian designer that flew from Italy and stayed at our house for
Wonderful.
3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
He came with a partner, and he basically designed the entire rope course for free. And we decided it was every night over dinner, and you know how the Italians do, and we worked, around the clock, basically. And then, so that was the beginning of the project, and it was done by volunteers. Mm-hmm. Then we had, when I talk about the 80 volunteers, we had a professional like lawyers, engineers. We had dozens of engineers because my husband is an engineer. And so from his company, we had a lot of help, both for the calculation that you need to do to make sure that the structure is very safe, but also building it itself. And then we had a lot of volunteers cleaning and painting. And now we have different volunteers that are a lot of young volunteers that help with the ropes course, but also help with the summer camps, with after-school programs, with our workshops. And we have now a new group of volunteers that actually comes with idea of programs that they would like to organize. We welcome everybody with open arms. When we talk about multi-year volunteers, obviously the most amazing volunteers that we have are our trustees. We have 15 trustees on our board, and they are the best volunteers. They've been, most of them have been there since the very beginning, and it has been an incredible journey to share with them. Without them, we would have never been able to open. So, grazie amici. They are listening.
Talking about amici, Julia and I also have known each other for quite some time thanks to a beautiful group of Italian women called Do It Donne Italiane Pittsburgh. Julia was indeed one of the founding members. And again, for all the newcomers coming to Pittsburgh, there are now so many different resources to come and find like-minded and other families that have settled here that are more than willing to lend a hand. Julia, we got the colors. Eventually, Stefano is going to acknowledge our winners, and we're very, very appreciative of your generosity. And I think I will have to drag Stefano to the Dragon's Den, but he will have to drag me on the ropes because, you know,
I am
I'm
actually
pretty
looking forward to
adventurous.
that. That looks
I'm pretty
fun.
adventurous, so but I'll be maybe snapping pictures from underneath. Okay, so Julia, thank you very much. It's been a delightful conversation. How can people get hold of you or the Dragons Den, whether they want to purchase tickets or come in and volunteer? Can you give us the website or an email address?
Absolutely. So our the easiest way to purchase tickets and to come and visit us, because right now we always suggest to pre-book your visit, is through our website, www.dragonsdenpgh.org.
Okay, beneath. Sorry to interrupt you. We're just on the closing lines, so I think through the website people will be able to connect with the Dragons Den. Thank you again, and now I have passo la parola Stefano. You're going to announce the winners for...
Yes, I am. We have two winners. We have Geronimo from Pittsburgh and Christy from Pittsburgh. Thank you very much, and we're going to follow up after the show and get your contact information. All right, with that being said, again, Julia, we want to thank you very much.
Ci vediamo presto on the course.
Because right now our hour is almost up.
Yes, il Big Ben ha detto stop also tonight.
And again, it's about time for us to say arrivederci and alla prossima. And we want to thank you all for listening. We also want to thank our guests. But again, one of the themes of the show is before we leave, we always want to remind you that if you have a story to tell, if you want to talk about a success, a trip, family, whatever, maybe you believe in what we're doing and you'd like to sponsor an episode, please reach out to theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. Again, that's theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Viviana, who's going to be on next week?
So next week we're going to do a double story again. It is our Valentine's episode. And so we're going to have one love story, and then we're going to have actually guests calling from Le Marche. They're actually the owners of the company, The Italian On Tour. And we will learn all about Le Marche and truffle hunting in Le Marche.
And again, I want to thank our guests. I want to congratulate the winners, Geronimo and Christy, both from Pittsburgh. And
as a reminder, if you missed the episode, you can always, or you want to share it with your friends and family, you can always catch it onto our website, www.istitutomondoitaliano.org, and click on the tab, The Italian Radio Hour. Vogliamo ringraziare di nuovo i nostri ospiti, Alessandro, Filippo, Jacopo, Alessandro e Giulia. Our sponsor, Istituto Mondo Italiano, Rizzo's Malabar Inn, Hank, Eduardo, and Alla Boara for the music. But finally, before we leave, here is the next trivia for the week. We are entering the period of Carnevale. So if you hear these idioms, Stefano, how would you complete it? A Carnevale ogni scherzo ... Once again, a Carnevale ogni scherzo ... Be the first one to answer. Send us an email at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com.
And again, vi ringraziamo per la risposta. From last week's trivia, we always enjoy reading your emails, so please keep them coming. If you are not in the Pittsburgh area or might be traveling, remember you can catch us streaming live at khbradio.com every Thursday at 5 p.m. And be sure to like us on Facebook at The Italian Radio Hour. Until next time, alla prossima.
Ciao, ciao.
Ci sta facendo garofula adorno e curerami con magia la via.
The Italian Radio Hour has been sponsored by Istituto Mondo Italiano.